Quad 6.6.
And Captain Ryder here.
What do we got?
A jumper T-Lite with an Express LRS module. Mike, take us through the specs of this.
So there's two versions of this T-Lite. There's the one that has the full multi-protocol module, which is the one that we got, and then there's one that has a more limited module. And basically, the trick about this radio is that it has full-size Hall sensor gimbals in a small compact game controller, and it's pretty cheap. It's like, this was like $75 on Race Day Quads. And for the module, we went with the Happy model. And this is the 2.4 gigahertz Express LRS. And I've got everything flashed up with the OpenTX Nightly firmware on the jumper and the most recent Express LRS, the actual release, onto the module. And it has the SD card in there running the Express LRS Lewis script. And so we were get interested in this radio because of the small form factor for two reasons. So I was thinking, because when we want to go hiking and throw it in the backpack,
Yeah.
I wanted the small size. But then when you saw, you got excited because
It's the size of literally like a Nintendo or a PS4 game controller. So I can like easily like do this.
yeah, so it fits your hands a little better,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. So we haven't tried this out, and that's what we're going to try in just a second here. And we're actually going to do, Ryder, you're going to be the one to maiden it.
Yeah, I'm gonna mate it in it because it's kind of my remote. So
All right. So let's get to the flight footage.
yeah, let's do the maiden.
Okay, so we've got Ryder now flight testing the jumper.
Yes.
So what do you think? So when you're flying it, what are you feeling?
I mean, it's good. Like it's great and stuff. But I definitely wouldn't consider this a problem. I'm just like, the gimbals on this compared to the Tyrannus, like they're so much looser.
Yeah, no, I went in and I put these gimbals at their full stiffest setting.
Whoa, that was disorienting.
Because I found that same thing when I was trying
Yeah,
to go
'cause
back and forth.
Because it's like one like tiny movement that would have done a tiny movement on the Tyrannus does like that type of thing.
Yes. I found like the middle of the throw on these gimbals, even with the springs fully stiff, it feels, not that it's toy grade, but to me it's too loose. I want more push back from the gimbals, like the way that we can set up the QX7, and you just can't get it on this radio.
Yeah.
Now, is it a deal breaker, or can you kind of get the feel for it and still fly pretty well?
What's a deal breaker?
A deal breaker means, no, I would never buy this, or, well, I think in certain settings I can kind of get used to it.
I mean, it's definitely, once you get used to it, it's actually like an awesome remote.
Yeah, once you get used to it, I feel like it's pretty usable. It's pretty flyable.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Where I struggle most with it is not in the more open settings, but I struggle when I try and get into the more detailed stuff around, like doing the bush slalom and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to do that.
Yeah, the bushes are really overgrown right now too.
Yeah, and we also got a new planted tree here, which is quite lovely for drones.
Yeah,
That's
it's
for
harder to
sure.
get through there. We've had so much rain that the plants have really filled in. I gotta actually do some trimming so I can get through some of my lines.
Yeah.
But overall, okay, so
Whoa. Okay. Continuing from that crash. Continue the question for that crash.
yeah, so So the gimbals, that's one of the things. Have you gotten used to how it feels in your hands, like the sort of hand position and stuff?
Yeah.
So for you, that's not too big of a deal?
No.
So for me, I still find that I feel cramped because I try and hold it more like my hands don't sit on top of the QX7, my hands wrap around it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I try and do that same thing, my fingers are kind of like bumping into the switches. And I have a hard time getting like the dexterity across the throws. But I think that like with time I could get used to it, but it's definitely a little different. So what we'll do is we'll kind of finish up here, and we'll go to back to the benchtop and take a look at it.
Yeah. I mean, once you get used to it, like, let me just show you my hardest trick that I think is hard. It's half backflip and then barrel roll out of it. Like, once you get used to it, like, you can really do that, like, easily.
Yeah, you can still do your tricks with it. Well, good. One of the things we'll talk about, and I'm going to do a separate video on it, but we'll talk about the gimbal jitter, the noise in the gimbals.
Oops.
Let's go to the bench.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're back to the benchtop. Okay, let's go through a couple categories on this. Price. So about $75 for the radio versus a QX7 about $140. What do you think about the price?
I mean, it's definitely worth it if a QX7 is that much.
Yeah, it's like half the price.
Yeah, it's like, and it has like the same capabilities, except for the screen.
Yeah, the screen's a little tiny, but honestly, how often do you use the screen? Not that
Not
much.
much.
Yeah. The controls are a little different to work through OpenTX, but that's actually no big deal. On this one, it does come with the Hall sensor gimbals versus on the QX7, that's another $40 to go to the Hall sensor gimbals. But one of the big issues here, and I'm going to do a whole nother separate video on this, is that although these are Hall sensor gimbals and they're not going to wear out on you, they do not have the same level of quality as the QX7. The QX7 has much less jitter, and I'll show you what that means in a separate video in terms of the feed forward and your traces and things like that. So you felt like I did with these gimbals, they're a little too soft on the mid-range even after I tightened them up fully.
Yeah, because it's like on the QX7, like you can put the gimbal about here and it does like the little bang, but on this you do that and you just it's like the amount of force that you'd put in a QX7 would probably like make the gimbal go like that.
Yeah, that same amount of force will move this a lot easier. And I think we can change that a little bit in terms of the rates, but I don't know if I really want to have two different sets of rates, one for the QX7, one for the jumper. So then, how about, will this radio work with our Whoop drones? Yes, right? Because it's got the multi-module in there, so it does D8. Will this one with the multi-module, will this work with our turbo trainer? Turbo timber. Mixed up that word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll work with our fixed wings also, right?
Yeah, fixed wings.
Yeah, so with the multi-module, plus having the Express LRS module on there, you
can fly pretty much about anything.
Yeah, this will literally fly anything versus the QX7.
No.
You can do another module, you can do a multi-module, but then you're stuck switching modules because this only has the D8, the regular ACS ST. Then the problem is with the QX7, they did some funny stuff where they have this new access protocol and it made their radios not work with like whoops and stuff like that. So it's kind of a mess. So definitely works there.
The only thing is though, is with how sensitive these gimbals are, on a whoop course, I think if I were to do it, I would probably fail. compared to a like QX7 because it's just so like.
Yeah, I think if you made the switch for small stuff like around the house, like doing the whoops or flying in the backyard, I think you'd have to commit fully.
Yeah.
Like I think you could only fly this one and not switch back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Take home overall. From our perspective, buying this as something that we can throw in the backpack and travel with, give it a thumbs up or thumbs down?
I think it's a thumbs up.
I'll give it a thumbs up. I think it's a qualified one, and that's mainly because I'm going to show you the noise in the gimbals. How about as like a replacement for around the house? QX7 versus this around the house.
Around the house QX7.
QX7. I agree. Okay. You got anything else? Closing thoughts?
If you're thinking about buying this, buy it probably. If you're like want to do desert flying or something, like it's definitely something I would not be like, oh, if you want this, like definitely like it's on the scale of one of the things you should probably to buy if you're looking to buy something like a radio.
I think it's worth considering. It's
Yeah.
got its pluses, it's got its minuses. The price makes it really approachable, and the versatility makes it really useful. So it's got some good things going for it. The biggest weakness will be in another video, which we're going to look at the black box logs and look at the jitter. All right, till next time.
Cheers.